easiest way to get into the Japanese universities. Then if you, on the process of the screening of the applicants to the government scholarship, they can decide which university they are going to study. But mainly, that scholarship is for the postgraduate studies. So in the case of the undergraduate studies, some government scholarship is available for it, but still, you may communicate directly with the university. So universities, some universities have the English spoken courses for undergraduate studies. So maybe that, the courses should have their own scholarship at the same time of the application, and also application for admission, and also you should make application for the scholarship. So
so you apply this at the Japanese embassy.
It's government scholarship.
Okay.
Then other ways, like Hokkaido University, for undergraduate, we have the special international student selection. So you may apply that point, and send up your application to that selection. Then you may have the document screening. Then after that interview, they may have some examinations. But some the courses requires skills of the Japanese languages. But some courses just English spoken courses you can enter directly. And also, some, mixed, the courses like starting from the 100% English, then, there's Japanese, the training on the way. Then when you graduate, you can speak both,
both
English and Japanese.
So there are some courses where they will begin with the 100% English.
Yes.
But then later on, as you progress, they'll start introducing Japanese. Language of instruction. Which means that by this time you should have learned Japanese.
Yes.
So are there parallel Japanese courses that you'll be learning?
Yes. So excuse me.
Yep. So there's parallel Japanese courses that you'll be learning as you do this.
Yes.
And then there are some courses that require 100% Japanese understanding by the time you're being admitted. So how do they test your proficiency in Japanese?
Japanese, you see, and in Kenya, there is Japanese, the schools, language schools. Then you can have some training at the school, language school. Then you may have the Japanese the test examination. It's also is taking place in the Nairobi. Then you get that's so-called N3. N2 is the level of the Japanese. If you pass that, that's specific, the level of Japanese skills, and which meet the requirement of the respective courses.
So language is not a barrier to you to be able to get your education. So for like at Hokkaido, for example, are all courses taught in English? Are all the courses for getting your first degree, for example, are they taught in English? So much so that if I am going to Japan and I don't speak Japanese, I will still be able to study.
Yes. Okay. Honestly speaking, if you are in university and if you are joining in postgraduate studies, almost all courses, you can just only English.
Okay.
But if for your survival outside of the university, some languages will be necessary. And also in some specific courses like Japanese studies, Japanese histories, you have to have Japanese skills even in the postgraduate studies.
Right.
But otherwise, that for natural science related courses, almost all courses accept English only student.
I agree with you, because I sometimes wonder, someone lives in this country for 10 years and still cannot speak Kiswahili. So so it's like your visit to Kenya was a waste, because surely even if you don't have to learn in Kiswahili, at least speak the language. So why then go to Japan for 5-6 years and you do not know Japanese? It's a wasted opportunity.
Exactly. Yes, it's wasted. Prof, how much does it cost to study in Japan?
Yes, It depends on the courses, like the private school and private university and national university. I think you will be surprised. You'll be surprised. For the national university, half year, $2,000 for tuition.
Half year.
Then 1 year is $4,000.
So 4,000 USD
per year.
Yes. In the public university.
It's public university.
Wow.
Yes.
And what about accommodation?
Okay, accommodation is depend on the place you are living.
Okay, the cheapest, simplest place.
Most rural place.
Yes.
I told you that we have 700 universities.
Yes.
Even in the very rural areas.
There are universities.
So honestly speaking, our university, Hokkaido, the Hokkaido University is located in the northernmost island. Then it's old city, but I think seventh or sixth, seventh biggest city in Japan. So our cost of living is not very expensive. Then maybe accommodation is per month be for the students is $200
for like a flat. Or
200 per month.
Yes, like flat. Yes, and if you are lucky enough to get into the university accommodation, is maybe 1/3 of that cost.
So when you say that the cost of living is not very expensive, this will all be relative, of course. So like, what are we talking about? Cost of living, food,
food, yes.
Transport. If you're living outside of the campus, getting to school. So what would you put that on an average for those who don't get housing?
So for the Japanese student, they accept maybe $600 per month from their parents
for everything.
For everything per month. Then of course you may add some your pleasure and also your study. You are buying books. Maybe some more cost to be necessary. But now I'm calculating on the basis of the current exchange rate.
Yes.
You have Japanese yen to week now,
which is a good thing. So about 600 USD a month, your living expenses. And then 4,000 a year, that's your tuition.
Yes.
And this is just at Hokkaido University. But you're saying, on average, this would be at the average on all public universities.
Yes. Yes, I think that is, yes.
And that compares a lot to what we have, right, in the public universities in the country, about annual fees. So I want to still focus on Hokkaido for a bit. How many African students do you have in Hokkaido University at present?
Due to the pandemic of COVID-19, the international number of international students are changing a bit. But for the African student currently, maybe about 80 African students in the entire university now.
What's the student population, the entire student population in Hokkaido?
International student will be 2,000. Then out of 2,000, the 80
are from Africa.
Yes.
Okay. How easy is it to interact with people in Japan? So you've gone into Japan. You're an international student. You speak just basic Japanese. Let's just say the basic Japanese. Arigato and calling people san. You have that basic. How would it be for you to interact with other people and to learn? And
I think the language.
You know what I'm asking here is I'm asking, are the Japanese people welcoming?
Yeah, okay. Remember that last 2021 we had the Tokyo Olympic Games.
Yes.
So and some the participants came back from the Japan to their own country. What they said that, is most of them said that, what is the best in Japan is hospitality. So the people should be very kind, even for the international students. They don't care about the origin of the country. They are always they're very kind. Even if they can't understand English, they try to understand English. So maybe these days maybe the applications
Google Translate and others.
That's useful.
One of the things that has always been interesting with collaborations, especially now with the country of Japan, Japan is celebrating this year 60 years of collaboration with this country, Kenya.
Yeah.
Which means they've been collaborating, but in very many ways, mostly through JICA.
Yes.
In all this time, there are two things that have stood out for me. One, I look at some of the Western countries, and they will have a center where somebody can actually learn the language. The Germans have one, the French have one. Now, is it policy within the government of Japan to set up centers where one can learn Japanese within the countries where they collaborate?
I'm not a politician. I'm not, but I'm a government. But still, the real situation is that, in the Korea, in China and Southeast Asia, we have many institutions who provide, Japanese language training. Then we send, the Japanese teachers to those areas. But here in Africa, so honestly speaking, like in Kenya and also maybe South Africa, maybe in the Senegal, actually we have some, the Japanese certified Japanese teachers. So they are providing the good training for Japanese. Then I think Kenyan one is allocated in the Jomo Kenyatta University. So and Zambia, some Japanese courses are run by the volunteers, Japanese volunteers.
Okay.
So but the government itself, they do not have much input.
So there's no institute, like we have the Goethe Institute, Alliance Française, the Confucius.
Not like that.
Okay. How many of the students that have come to Hokkaido have remained in Japan to then pursue a career?
You see the African student.
Yes.
African student. Yes. I think it's roughly. It's a country I can count in Hokkaido University. Is one is as assistant professor, and then the other one is maybe every year 3 or 4 African students are remaining in the universities and the postdoc positions and also the academic staff.
How many go into the private sector within Japan?
Private sectors are very difficult to say that, the veterinary medicine a bit, the different fields, but school of engineering, some of them are working in the private companies, and but the rate would be maybe less than 10% at this moment.
Okay.
But that is why government, encouraged students to try to apply Japanese in the companies to work.
Oh, okay, to stay in Japan and work.
Yes.
Okay, and sometimes universities or institutions of higher learning track their students after they've graduated to kind of see where they land. So if they're not staying in Japan, have you been able to see? Kind of gives value to the education that you've given. Have you then been able to see that those who've graduated, where they've gone, what they're doing after they've had a Hokkaido education, for example? Do you do that to be able to see what happens after they graduate?
After the graduation, some of them, yes, we can trace, what is happening after that, but most of them at this moment, because the number is not so many, and they are coming from the higher education institute, and also some of them had the kind of the position of staff development fellow. Those students should come back to the each institutions then to be academic staff. So I think the number of the students who are going to be academic staff is a bit big now.
Okay.
What would you give as advice to somebody who's applying to join any of these Japanese universities, and then there's that interview process? What advice would you give somebody so they can ace that process?
Yes. So honestly speaking, I was chairperson of the examination committee up to last year at my school.
Give us
and then, yes, we did not care about, too much on the academic, the conversations. But, we are trying to see the motivations, then, and what applicants want to do. Clearly that, the indication would be, the clear indication would be necessary for examiners. So I think motivations and a clear explanation.
How do you gauge that? So it's not about the academics. Yes, I have an undergrad and I'm looking for a postgrad and looking to get into a PhD program. You don't really care about what you look at is, yes, you have qualified. The next is the character of the individual.
Yes.
How do you gauge, how do you judge the character of an individual?
It's my own experience. I can say that, it's bit too much, motivated, too much, and power to explain.
Too energetic.
Yes, a bit aggressive. Will be a good student in the future, in later on. I mean, the student who applied, who had the interview, the interview aggressively, expressing, what applicants would like to do. Then that should, after entering the course, that kind of student becomes, very motivated and very, improved, very much improved student.
So express yourself.
Yes.
When you ask the question, respond, not just with one word, not just, yes, I want to study in Japan. Why? Because I have an undergrad in medicine.
I think...
why? So you want somebody who will come and give you longer answers to show you that they are actually passionate about this program and what they want to do.
But not too long.
Okay, not too long.
And generally speaking, it's my expression, my impression is the African student a bit modest to express what they are thinking. So like Japanese.
Okay. Does the Hokkaido University have exchange programs with any universities? Let's start with Africa, then we'll come to Kenya, where, yes, we have people going to Japan, but also you have students from Japan coming to, whether it's Zambia or Kenya or some country that you...
Yes, in Kenya, not Hokkaido University, but some universities like Nagasaki University, which has the collaborative research, station with KEMRI.
Yes.
They have, exchange program. They send in Japanese student, and also they accept a Kenyan student.
Okay.
And Yamaguchi University, School of Veterinary Medicine, they have a exchange agreement with the veterinary medicine at the University of Nairobi. So and also Hokkaido University. I'm sure that we don't have clear agreement with the Kenyan universities. We have the agreement with the University of Zambia, University of Namibia, University of the Pretoria, and Johannesburg, and some other universities. But on the basis of the agreement, like a university exchange agreement, we can have special scheme named the Hugh Step to accept, the short-term exchange student from, partner universities. That agreement we have with the University of Nairobi. So this year, I think one Kenyan student is going to Hokkaido University on that scheme.
Right.
Or something like this.
Have you had what kind of feedback do you get from your African students after they finish their studies and after interacting with the Japanese society? What do they tell you?
Generally, very much positive. And also, they said that, the Japanese society has, and the student, they are always under, good discipline.
That's the word.
So that's what they
What do you understand that to mean? What do they mean when they say the Japanese people have discipline?
Like the punctual, the working, and punctual, the pleasure, and any other things. It's always on time, and also prepared nicely. Then
Prof, can you actually? Are you able to convert when the people come to Japan? They get that discipline of especially punctuality.
Time.
punctuality? Because I'm even seeing very many comments here.
Wow.
Somebody says, I work in the tourism industry, and the level of discipline that I witness with the Japanese is on another level. So many comments are mentioning Japan equals discipline. Africans do, of course, when they come the first few days, maybe they're not even punctual when entering the. But do they pick it up?
I think so. I think so.
So there's a transference of culture, is what we're saying here. Possible because we still look at Japanese society, Japanese culture as highly conservative still. So would you say that there is an infiltration of culture even while you're getting an education? Perhaps that now goes to what we're seeing here. That there's almost a culture injection even while you're going through the 4 years of your education. You'll be out and you have more than a diploma. Would that be something that you see as well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Do you think the Japanese are able to learn anything from Africans? I notice it that you have, for example, have been in Zambia for a while. You have interacted with African students that you're teaching. What have you picked up from Africans?
These days I feel that, as I told you that, the African students are so modest.
Yeah.
It's very quiet. Then, but they are, is really want to study more and more. If I provide something, some subject, then I explain about the problems and the way of resolving. They start asking me many questions. It's much more than Japanese student. So I think they want to have the knowledge and the skills. That motivation is very much high, very much
Above
very much
others.
yes, above, yes. And yes, if Japanese student could be in the African society and like African students, that would be good, maybe experience for them. So maybe she said that our culture is very conservative.
Yes,
we keep the system. That is why we want to send student out. So that skill